There is a specific fantasy we all have when we first bring an animal into our lives. We look at that puppy or that kitten, and we see a blank canvas. We convince ourselves that with enough love, enough treats, and enough patience, we can mold them into the perfect companion we have pictured in our heads. We imagine a friend who is always happy to see us, one who listens, one who cuddles on command, one who fits effortlessly into our lives like a missing puzzle piece. But then time passes. The puppy grows up. The kitten becomes a cat, and the reality sets in. Maybe you have a dog who refuses to listen no matter how many classes you attend. Maybe you have the cat that vanishes under the bed the moment a guest arrives, leaving you to apologize to your friends. Maybe you have the creature that tears your furniture apart with a precision that feels almost personal. The frustration that follows is heavy. You start to wonder if you did something wrong. You wonder if they are stubborn or if they are just difficult. You wonder why they can't just be normal. But psychology offers a different explanation. You are not failing. You are simply up against biology. Animals are not blank slates. They arrive in this world with a temperament already installed. It is etched into their DNA. It is written into their wiring before they ever take their first breath. Ethologists, the scientists who study animal minds, have found that animals possess distinct personality types. These are not choices. They are lenses through which they view the world. The friction you feel with your pet isn't because they are behaving badly. It is because you are trying to force a wolf to be a lamb. You are trying to ask a solitary hunter to be a social butterfly. Today, we are going to stop fighting against their nature. Instead, we are going to learn to read it. We are going to explore the 4 psychological tribes of the animal world. We are going to identify which tribe your pet belongs to, and most importantly, we are going to learn how to love them. Not in the way you want to, but in the way their specific brain needs. We begin with the personality type that struggles the most in our modern, noisy world, the sentinel. This is the dog who stands at the window for hours, eyes locked on the street. This is the cat who sleeps on top of the refrigerator, watching the room with laser focus. This is the animal that reacts to everything. The sound of a car door, the wind in the trees, the mailman walking up the driveway. We tend to label these animals as anxious or reactive. We try to train them to stop barking. We try to force them to relax. But you need to understand the job they believe they have. The sentinel has a high arousal threshold. Their brain is designed to detect intrusion. In the wild, these were the members of the pack who stayed awake while the others slept. They are not trying to irritate you. They are trying to keep you alive. They believe they are on duty, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How to recognize the sentinel. They track movement constantly. Their eyes follow you every time you stand up. They rarely enter a deep, heavy sleep during the day. They are suspicious of new objects. A box left in the hallway is a threat to be investigated. They patrol the perimeter of the house or yard, checking the boundaries. So how should we treat them? The biggest mistake we make with the sentinel is trying to force them to be social. We invite friends over and say, "He's friendly, just pet him." When you force a sentinel to interact with a stranger, you are violating their primary directive. You are proving to them that you do not see the potential threat. This makes them panic. What the sentinel needs is not socialization. They need leadership. They need to know that you are the guard, so they can finally clock out. If your dog barks at the door, do not yell. Yelling is just noise. It adds to the tension. Instead, calmly step in front of them. Physically block their view of the door. Tell them, "I see it. I have it. Go to your bed." You are taking the burden of vigilance off their shoulders. For a sentinel cat, the solution is height. A scared cat on the floor is a defensive cat. A cat on a high shelf is a confident general surveying the battlefield. Give them the highest point in the room. From up there, they can watch the world without feeling exposed. Do not force the sentinel to cuddle. To them, love is not touch. Love is the assurance that the territory is secure. Next, we have the personality that is most likely to end up in a shelter because they are simply too much for the average home. The operator. This is the mischief maker. The dog who learns how to open the refrigerator. The cat who figures out how to turn on the faucet to drink, then leaves it running. The animal that disassembles your shoes, but only the expensive ones. We call them destructive. We call them impossible. But in the world of animal psychology, these animals are defined by high cognitive needs. They possess a brain that is desperate for influence. These are the problem solvers. In nature, the operator would be the master hunter, the one figuring out how to extract meat from a shell or how to navigate a complex maze to find water. But in your living room, with a bowl of free food and nothing to do, they are bored. And for a high intelligence animal, boredom is painful. It feels like physical stress. So they create their own work. They unroll the toilet paper. They dig a hole in the carpet. Destruction is not malice. Destruction is a brilliant mind crying out for an assignment. How to recognize the operator. They learn tricks incredibly fast, sometimes in minutes. They stare at you intensely, waiting for a command or a signal. They manipulate their environment, opening latches, moving chairs, knocking things over to see what happens. They are not tired after a long run. They come home and immediately pick up a ball. How to treat them. The mistake everyone makes with the operator is trying to exhaust the body. You cannot physically tire an operator. You can run a border collie or a Bengal cat for miles, and they will still have the energy to take apart your remote control. Why? Because their body isn't the problem. Their mind is. You have to exhaust the brain. You must enforce a concept called contra-freeloading. This is the psychological principle where animals prefer to work for food rather than receive it for free. Throw away the food bowl, feed the operator in puzzle toys, hide their food around the living room and make them sniff it out. Teach them to name their toys. Teach them to press buttons to ask for things. Give them a job. And if you do not give the operator a job, they will hire themselves. And their chosen profession will be dismantling your house. Treat them like a colleague, not a baby. They don't want to be coddled. They want to be challenged. Now, we look at the sensitive soul, the sponge, the empath. This is the animal that knows you are sad before you even realize it yourself. The dog who rests his head on your knee when you are crying. The cat who vanishes when the mood in the house turns heavy. These animals are defined by high sensory sensitivity. They lack the psychological filter that blocks out emotional data. They absorb the energy of the room. If the sentinel reacts to physical intruders, the sponge reacts to emotional intruders. They are the barometer of the home. If the house is tense, they get sick. If the house is heavy, they become depressed. How to recognize the sponge. They are Velcro pets. They are always touching you, sitting on your feet, or leaning against your leg. Stress manifests physically for them, stomach issues, skin rashes, or sudden refusal to eat. They're terrified of loud sounds, thunder, or raised voices. They mirror your mood perfectly. If you are low, they are low. How to treat them. The biggest mistake we make with the sponge is babying the fear. When a sponge is shaking during a storm or hiding from a visitor, our instinct is to coo at them. We use a high, worried voice. We say, "Oh, it's okay, you poor thing." Psychologically, you are confirming their terror. The sponge looks to you for coregulation. They are checking your heart rate and your tone to see if they should be panicked. When you use a worried voice, you are telling them, "Yes, we are worried. This is a crisis." To help a sponge, you must be the anchor. When they are scared, you must be still. Breathe deeply. Move slowly. Speak in a low, flat tone. They need a retreat, a covered crate or a cave bed where no one is allowed to touch them. A place where they can shut out the sensory overload. And most importantly, you have to check yourself. If your sponge is acting anxious, stop looking at the dog. Look in the mirror. Are you anxious? Are you rushing? Are you holding on to anger? You cannot lie to a sponge. To heal them, you often have to heal yourself first. Finally, we have the personality that everyone wants, but few people truly respect. The hedonist. The bulldog who refuses to walk and simply lies down in the grass. The ragdoll cat who goes limp in your arms. The golden retriever who just wants to hold a dirty sock in his mouth and wiggle. We call them lazy. We call them gluttons. We call them stubborn. But psychologically, these animals are sensory seekers with a low drive for arousal. They are not motivated by work like the operator. They are not motivated by vigilance like the sentinel. They are motivated by pleasure. They are the masters of the soft life. They prioritize tactile joy. Food, soft beds, belly rubs over everything else. How to recognize the hedonist. They are food motivated to an extreme level. They are stubborn on walks. If they don't want to go, they become a stone. They have no concept of personal space. They sit on you, not near you. They are generally unbothered by noise or commotion. How to treat them. The mistake here is thinking the hedonist is stupid. The hedonist is not stupid. They are efficient. They have done a cost-benefit analysis. They have calculated that the energy required to sit when you told them to sit is not worth the tiny treat you are holding. To train a hedonist, you have to increase the value. You have to find their currency. But more deeply, you have to respect their pace. In a world that rushes, the hedonist is a teacher of slowness. If you drag a hedonist down the street because you are in a hurry, you create conflict. If you stop and sit with them in the grass for 5 minutes, you bond. They bond through touch. They need physical contact, massage, grooming, leaning. They are tactile creatures. Do not get frustrated that they won't run a marathon with you. They are not here to be your workout buddy. They are here to teach you how to stop working. They are here to show you that it is okay to just exist. Now, you're looking at your pet and thinking, he's a mix of two. Of course, personality is a spectrum. Maybe you have an operator sentinel, a German shepherd who guards the house and needs complex puzzles. That is a high-maintenance animal that needs structure. Maybe you have a sponge hedonist, a cat who loves food but hides when strangers come. But usually, there is one primary driver. When the pressure is on, what do they choose? Do they choose vigilance, work, connection, or pleasure? Once you identify that driver, you hold the key to their mind. But there is one final, deeper question we have to ask. Why did you choose them? Psychology speaks of a phenomenon called assortative mating, where we choose partners who are similar to us, but it applies to pets too. We often choose the pet that represents our inner self. We choose the pet that acts out the emotions we are not allowed to express. If you are a person who has to be strong all the time, who never lets anyone see you cry, you might choose a sponge. You choose an animal that is vulnerable for you. You comfort them because you wish someone would comfort you. If you are a person who feels powerless in your daily life, you might choose an operator. You choose a smart, difficult dog because mastering them makes you feel competent. If you are a person who is constantly worried, you might choose a sentinel. You bond over your shared suspicion of the world. If you are a person who works 80 hours a week and is burning out, you might choose a hedonist. You look at them sleeping on the rug and you feel a sense of relief because they are living the life you deny yourself. Your pet is not an accident. They are a mirror. The things that frustrate you about them are often the things you struggle with in yourself. So look at them. Really look at them. Stop wishing they